Hej allihopa! Jag heter Sabine. Jag kommer från Tyskland och jag talar svenska. Hej då!
On a video of mine that is called A Crash Course in Swedish Pronunciation, I got this comment. Thank you for your video, but after watching it I still have a few questions. I was under the impression that there was a bit more to Swedish pronunciation than this. Could you please explain any pronunciation rules that go beyond the pronunciation of individual letters? And that's exactly what we are gonna do today. Hey allihopa! Hi everyone and welcome to another video from Say It In Swedish. I'm your host, Joachim, and today we're gonna talk about Swedish pronunciation rules. And if you haven't seen my crash course yet, check that out here and then move on to this video. Well, you can watch this one at first if you want to, but I walk you through every letter in the Swedish alphabet and basically the pronunciation of each letter or pronunciations. And in this video I'm gonna talk to you about a few rules or things basically that might not be, have any rules, because we have a lot of those things as well in Swedish. People think that there are rules for everything, including the person making this comment. So let's just get some tea. I have my notes here and let's jump right into it. And remember, if you want to discuss this video with me and other fans and learners, come to our Discord server, our Discord community. The link to that is in the description down below. It's free and it's easy, it's cool, it's nice. You can talk to me. So let's kick things off with the sh sound, the TJE-LJUD as we call it, and you can spell it. You can spell this sound in numerous ways. The three typical ways are with TJ, KJ, and a K in front of so-called soft vowels, and I will get to that in a second. So first we have the word tjuv, tjuv, which means thief, and as you can see it's spelled with TJ here. Then we have KJOL, kjol, which means skirt, and it's spelled with KJ. And then we have the spelling with K in front of soft vowels, mjuka vokaler. They are E, I, Y, Ä, and Ö. And these will appear a lot in this video, so keep them in mind. We had E, I, Y, Ä, Ö. Alright? Now, we have a bunch of loan words in Swedish. And we kept their spelling. So you can spell this sound in a bunch of ways. I had to make notes. So for instance, we have BAGAGE. Here it's spelled with a G. BAGAGE, which means luggage. Then we have CH, chips, sheeps, right? Then we have SCH, DUSCH. That's basically the German spelling. We spell a lot of words with this, a lot of words that are loan words with this type of spelling. So SCH, douche, which means shower. Then the English SH, t-shirt, for instance, t-shirt. So as you can see on the screen, we can spell this sound in numerous different ways, and there isn't really a rule here. Yeah, I can't tell you that every time a G is in front of or between A and E or anything will be pronounced like sh. There is no rule here. And before moving on to that sound, that tricky one, let's talk about the K sound in front of soft vowels. They were E, I, Y, Ä, Ö. Right? And I have a few examples here with each vowel. That's why I want to talk about this letter separately. So we have KEDJA, which means chain. We have kika, which means basically to look, to peer. Then we have KYRKA, kyrka, which means church. We have kärlek, kärlek, which means love. And we have kök, which means kitchen, kök. The SKJUD, the SJ sound. And I made a video about this, which you can see here, but I'm gonna go through this real quickly. So the SJ sound is the sound that many people think is the most difficult in Swedish. The sound, so it's basically like an H that has a lot of air and it comes, kind of hits the roof of your mouth and or the back part of your mouth a little bit. It's a bit hard to explain, but you can watch that video and you can listen to the lesson that I have on sayitinswedish.com for this. So you spell this with either SJ, STJ, SKJ, or SK in front of soft vowels. We have those again. So let's take a few words. So for SJ, we have sjuk, which means sick. And if we want to take the legendary sjuksköterska, which means nurse, we have both the SJ spelling here and we have the SK spelling. Sjuk and sköterska, sjuksköterska. All right, practice this one. That one is a difficult one, but here you can see that the spelling differs within the same word because it's a compound. Then we have STJ, stjärna, which means star. Stjärna. All right? And then we have skjuta for SKJ. Skjuta, which means to shoot. Right? But then we have we have numerous loan words. So for instance, we have the CH again here. CH. So you don't know if CH is commonly pronounced like sh or you have to learn the word or the dialect that you want to learn or you're gonna engage with. Yeah, so we have choklad, for instance. Choklad. And why I'm not pronouncing the D, we'll get to that later on, so keep watching. Then we have SI. Diskussion. Discussion. SI. Diskussion. And then we have G again. Geni. All right? Genius. And then we have J. Journalist. Then we have TI. Station. And then we have the SH again that we had from English from t-shirt. Well, here we are pronouncing it as shorts, for instance. Shorts. And then SCH again from German. We say Schack for chess. Schack. So as you can see, you can't possibly know. There are no rules here. You just have to learn it from a native speaker or whatever. All right? The thing is that in some dialects, we only have one of these sounds. We only have the sh sound, basically. So beware of that. Some people might say choklad, diskussion, geni, journalist, station, shorts. Sounds so weird. And SCHACK. If you would say SCHACK to me, you want drugs from me. So beware of that. But as I said, if you want to go with like what's considered kind of the standard pronunciation here, you can't possibly know. There is no rule here for which spelling to use or how to pronounce this spelling. They are used across both sounds. So yeah, No rules. Okay, fikapaus. I really hope you could digest this, because now we're moving on to other weird things. So we have the G, which is a G in Swedish, right? But in front of soft vowels. It's pronounced like yi, yi, right? Like the Swedish J, right? So for instance, yeah, let's talk about a few words with those different vowels. We have, for instance, yeah, which means to give. Then we have gilla, which means to like, gilla. We have gympa, which is a funny word, but it basically means that you do gymnastics, for instance, gympa. In my dialect, we say gympa, but it's still spelled like this. And then we have Gävle, which is a city in Sweden. And yeah, you know what I mean. Sweden has so tiny cities, so they are barely cities. But I think it's very nice with, you know, small cities like that. And lastly, we have gös, which is a fish in Swedish, a Swedish fish. Gös. What's a gös? Let's see. A Xander. All right. And you might think that this is all there is to it. We had the K and the soft vowels, and that's it. But with G, we have a few things that we can't really explain. So for instance, R plus G and L plus G, they make the G also pronounced like Y. So for instance, we have berg, which means mountain. And we have färg, which means color. But we also have helg, which means the weekend. And we have fälg, which means rim. So in these letter combinations, R plus G and L plus G, G is pronounced Y. And I'm 99% sure this only applies to word endings, but don't take my word for it. But then we also have other cases of weirdness. For instance, we have the word säga, which means to say. Säga, and in English you can hear that it's the same word and you pronounce it with a y sound, say, and we do that too in Swedish, but we spell it with a G. And we can't explain this with a rule. Obviously, we can explain this etymologically, historically, we can talk about this, but there is no rule that says that a G after an A sound is pronounced. It doesn't, there is no rule, okay? Because we have a bunch of words with A plus G. Vägg. Wall, vägg, for instance, or a similar word to säga is SÄGEN, which means, you know, like a legend, like a saga, probably from saga or something. But we also have the word saga. Anyway, the G here in säga is just pronounced Y for no apparent reason, you know. Then we also have the pronouns mig, me, they, you, and say, which is, you know, him or her in a reflexive context. You can see, I have a video on that here, which you can watch if you want to learn more about say and so on. But these words are also, you know, they are pronounced super differently. The G is Y, but the I is also pronounced like E. It's in fact so weird that we have alternative spellings for these, which you can see on the screen here. You can find these in some books, and some people use them. It's considered an alternative spelling, but better is to use this weird spelling that's a bit more conservative and a bit weirder, but that's what we would prefer. And basically this is a compromise between dialects, and this is just what they decided on. There is no logic to everything in the written language because someone decided that this is gonna be what it is. All right, so there aren't rules for everything. Some things you just have to learn with practice. Good. Now let's move on to the letter O in Swedish, which is typically pronounced O. O. However, sometimes we can pronounce it like O. And people are begging for rules. They are begging, they are literally on their knees begging for rules, but there are no rules. There are historical reasons, again, but you can't possibly know. If you hear the word, you can't know. If you see the word, you can't know. So you just have to know. So for instance, we have sova. Sova, to sleep. Sova, pronounced with O, but it's O sound, right? And here we have ordna. Ordna, pronounced O, spelled O. And here's a nice one. We have the pronouns de and dem. They are most typically pronounced both as dom. And some people spell it like that. Dom. Guess how they spell it? With O. So we have the word dom and we have the word dom, which means sentence. Dom. But we have dom, which means they and them. So as you can see here, you don't know, okay? You don't know, you don't see, you don't understand. It's just how it is. You just have to learn it. Let's move on with letter combinations. And I think this one is pretty straightforward for you. Let's talk about the N plus G, the sound. You have it too in English. Nothing fancy, or pretty fancy, but it's normal. We have the word ängel, for instance. Ängel. Angel, ängel, right? However, you can also spell this as G plus N. When, you know, the N is also pronounced, but we don't spell it with NGN. We spell it with just G and N, right? So we have ugn, for instance. Ugn, which means oven. And don't confuse that with ung. Ung, which means young. And of course we have N plus K, sorry. Bank, bank. So here in front of a K, the N turns into a N sound as well. Good stuff, good talk. But then we have the retroflex sounds. I made a video about this. You can check those out here. So I'm not gonna talk a lot about those, but basically real quick, RD, RT, RS, RN, and RL get you know, the R is, let's say the R is dropped and or assimilated with those other letters turning into retroflex letters that you might know from the classic Indian accent. We have those two. They have more, I think, but we have some. And I'm just gonna go through some words. For instance, with RD, we have ood. Ood. Word. Ood. With RT, we have bort. As you can see, or hear, no, you can't hear an extra R sound there. So bort, which means away, gone, or away. Bort. Then we have RS, kosh, kosh. No R sound, just a weird sh sound. But it's not kosh, it's kosh. The tongue basically flexes back, as I normally say. Check out the video. And then we have RN, barn, 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 child. And lastly, RL, ÄCKLIG, ärlig, ärlig. The G normally, typically gets dropped, but I'm not gonna talk about that in this video. But now you know. Now let's move on to a few very fun and interesting topics. For instance, we have aspiration in Swedish. And aspiration means that a few consonants are pronounced with a lot of air so that they are basically followed by an H. All right? So in Swedish we do that with P, T, and K. And yeah, we do that only if they are in the beginning of a word and that syllable that they belong to is stressed. All right, so here are a few examples. We have police, lots of air, police, 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 yeah. But then we have apa, apa, not apa. apa. It's apa. Apa. It's almost like a B, like aba. Aba. Almost Spanish. No, but apa. So no aspiration there. And that word means monkey. But, you know, ape. You can hear it, ape. Apa. Then we have tuff. 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 Which means tough. But we have äta. Äta. Which means to eat. But not äta. Äta. No, not that. Äta. But tuff. So you can hear the difference here. And lastly, let's take, what in the world have I written here? Krona. Crown. Krona. Lots of air here. Krona. Krona. But äcklig. 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 It's not a G, but also not K. It's just another small quick thing here regarding letter combinations. So if you want to have a long K sound in Swedish, we write that with CK. All right? CK, not KK like in the other Nordic languages. And here, the word and in Swedish, och, is spelled with CH for some dumb reason. So keep that in mind. Do you know what assimilation is? In linguistics, it's basically when two sounds adapt to each other. I think that's easy to understand. So we do have that in Swedish as well. Consonants that are voiced and consonants that are unvoiced, when they meet each other, they become unvoiced. If you don't know what voiced consonants are, just put your hand here and say g, g, g. You can feel that your neck or throat is vibrating because your vocal cords are in use, so to speak. But if you say k, 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 that ain't happening. So if you don't use your vocal cords, that sound is then unvoiced. So I have a few examples here. We have the word snabb, snabb, b, b, voiced, snabb, which means fast or quick. But if you put a T on this, which will make it into quickly, for instance, you have snabbt. It's basically like you would spell it with a P instead. So snabb, b, and snabbt. Nothing is happening here. All right? And we have låg, låg, low, låg. Slap a T on there and you have lågt. K, k, lågt. K. Yeah. Then we have Sverige. Sverige, which is the country which you will speak Swedish. Sverige, Sweden. Sverige. The V here, V, is suddenly Sverige. All right? Sverige. And also you have a very nice G here that is pronounced Y. Like we had just stuff, illogical stuff. And then we have D as in asdålig. Dålig, dålig, which is bad, something bad. Yeah, dålig. But then if you put as in front of it, as, it means cadaver. It's something we use as an intensifier. So asdålig, asdålig means that it's super bad. Asdålig. And it's a bit hard to hear here, I admit that, because it's not aspirated. So there's that. Assimilation, guys. Not super important. Really not super important, but you wanted rules. So here are some rules. And lastly, let's talk real quickly about reductions. I have a video about reductions here, and I will make another video about common reductions, but basically reductions mean that sounds disappear, all right? And we do have, I wouldn't say rules, but a rule of thumb. So, for instance, D is very prone to disappear if it's not stressed. G is also very prone to disappear, and also R is prone to disappear. So for instance, let's take the word dog. Dog. The G at the end is mostly not said. So it's da. And you can really see this in the plural dagar, because no one says that. Basically, you will most likely hear dar. Dar. The R is not dropped here, but the G is dropped. Then we have brandbil, if you pronounce it very clearly. Brandbil. Alright? The D here normally gets dropped and we get brandbil. And here you can see another assimilation, because the N in front of B and P is turned into an M. Alright? This is very common in languages, and we have that here in compounds. We have it in word borders as well, and so on. So, brandbil. Brandbil. It's not super important, nothing you need to think about, but you want the rules. So, brandbil. Brandbil. Or even brandbil. It's like nasal. It's weird stuff. But yeah, brandbil or brandbil. Brandbil. It's a nasal A, almost. But you want the rules, so you get these now. But they aren't really rules, because everything doesn't happen like you would expect here. Like I said, D and G and R often get dropped, but you really need to know where. Let's talk about R. For instance, we have the word var, which means where. Where. And R is often dropped here. So va, yeah, vaen, va. All right? But also the word vad, which means what, is, yeah, the D gets dropped. So we have va or va there too. Then in verbs, in the present tense, it's very common for R to disappear. So you have the verb jobba, to work, jobba. But the present tense, jobbar, mostly sounds like jobba as well. And then we have the past tense, jobbade, also pronounced like jobba most of the time. And then we have plusquamperfect and perfect, the perfect tense, har jobbat. It's mostly pronounced like ha jobba. Ha jobba. Alright? So the R gets dropped from har and the T gets dropped from the last A sound. One super duper last thing before ending this video, and this applies mostly to my dialect, but you will hear my dialect in media a lot, so it's important for you to know this. And it's that pronouns that begin with a D, they get the D replaced to an R if the words are unstressed. Right? So du, you turns into r, right? Dom, they turns into rom. And then we also have the word då, which means then, and it turns into ro a lot. All right? So an example would be, vad gör du då? Vad gör du då? Vad gör du då? All right? Just something that you need to know, and yeah, make sure that you hit that bell icon so that, and also subscribe, of course, so that you know when I release my new video on reductions and most common reductions, because this will be in there. Also, I want to make a video about my dialect, and this will be in there as well. But this is basically the only rule about this. There is no other rule. It's just something super weird that happens. D turns into R. That's not super weird. That happens in other languages, but in this case, just these words. It's just something that has happened and something we do. So that's it for today. I hope that you learned something. You want the rules, you got some rules, and you got some non-rules, because everything or not everything can be explained in rules, and that's it. If If you want to learn more Swedish, you can do that on sayinswedish.com, where I've got free lessons for you and free vocabulary lists and more content for learning Swedish. And if you want to talk to me, you can do that on our Discord server. If you want to talk to me and other fans and learners and engage in the community, go there. It's free. Just make an account and chat. I'm there 24/7 almost, so you'll find me there. And if you want to support me, you can do that on Patreon. Links are in the description down below, and if you become a Patreon member, you will unlock some stuff on the site as well. Very nice. All right, see you in another video and on Discord. Ha det bra, puss och kram, hej då.